So my name is Luke Maley. I'm taking IB Standard Level Biology, and this is the third video reflection that I've done for my e-portfolio that we've been tasked to do in this class. And we've given like guiding questions, and the first kind of general guiding question that they're talking about is like, what is the proudest highlight and the disappointments of what I've done in this class. So I think the proudest highlight for me would be my work on the DBQs. The biggest thing is the progress that I've made on the DBQs and on the labs. In a lot of my written reflections that are on my e-portfolio, I talked about wanting to improve my DBQ skills. And on this last test that we just got back, whilst the score wasn't the final grade wasn't particularly what I wanted, I only lost 1 point in the DBQ, which is considerably less than what I have often lost points-wise on the DBQs in previous tests. So I think that's something that I'm very, very proud of. Whether or not it's the DBQ was easier than the other ones or not, that is something that I haven't really thought of, because I think that the way that I prepared for the DBQs, making ways to answer the command terms, evaluate, examine, to what extent, determine, discuss, things like that. I made a list of how I thought and how I've been told that you're supposed to answer these questions based on what the IB expects, and this is like something that I worked off and I remember when I was taking the test. The disappointments was I think I let myself down a lot in the tests, like test taking wise. I got very nervous. I didn't read the questions fully. I would often blank out and read the questions for face value and not fully understand what the IB was requesting in the question, and often ignore what the command term was telling me. So that's something that I want to definitely. I'm glad that I've acknowledged it now going into the final exam, because it's something that I can work on, and it's something that I definitely want to work on for the test next year. The guiding principles are another big thing that I've tried to integrate into my learning. So the critical thinking in class, I've been trying to connect it back to other units that we're doing. For example, with glucose, there's a lot on glucose, obviously, because it's one of the main biological products in the body, and it was a main product in the body. It's to do with respiration, photosynthesis in plants, things like that. So it's something that it links together in a lot of different places. I mean, it's also related to diabetes and all those sorts of things. So it's something that links back. So whenever I hear, for example, glucose, I always try and see how it links into what we're doing and what we've done. And so yeah, the critical thinking and the connecting. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The connecting, critical thinking, trying to develop the question. I have a better understanding of the question, take the question to another level apart from just what would be expected. The conditions that I learned best in, I think, would be the acting out of the certain processes within the body that we'd have to do. For example, we recently did one on the menstrual cycle, and the different steps that take place, and walking that out and as a class is something that I remember, because I remember what each person was. I have better remember like placing names on a face and placing names on an imaginary, or not an imaginary, placing names on a chemical that I don't know what it looks like. So placing a name on, for example, somebody else in the class, I can remember, and then I can remember what they did, and then that helps me remember the process. The things that I didn't learn so well in was just when it was just like a lecture, and he would just tell us, and we had to remember it or take notes and things like that, because I'd often drift off and not pay full attention, or not give my full attention to what he was saying, which is obviously something that I definitely want to work on going into university, but I feel that that's where I let myself down. When, and how has my learning surprised me, and also why? I think that this question is a particularly good one, because my learning has surprised me more so outside of the classroom, because I've been able to be generally more knowledgeable on certain things that people are talking about. So if I'm having a discussion with a group of adults, I'm being able to follow the conversation more. If it's like biologically related or environmentally related, I've also been able to, because we've talked a lot about like thinking critically, making connections. I'm also being able to take what people are saying and not take them on face value to be true. I'm also thinking about it. Could this be true? What's the other things that they could be talking about? Pros, cons, strengths, weaknesses, all those sort of things. So that's when my learning has surprised me, and that's where I'm quite grateful that I took the IB, because that's something that they particularly drill into us, is that we really need to think critically. And this is where I've been surprised, because I didn't really notice this process happening within myself, but I'm glad that I begin to notice it now, because it's definitely a trait that I'm proud to have. Is my learning relevant, applicable, and practical is one of the other questions that we've been given. And I think that definitely bio is one of the more applicable and practical sciences, natural sciences that is, that out of the three main ones, I guess if you would like to say chemistry, physics, and biology, because biology is something that, especially when we're looking at things like the menstrual cycle, respiration, cellular respiration, things like that, transport within the body, DNA, I think that's things that relate to everybody, no matter who you are. I mean, because at a molecular level and at a cellular level, we all have the same cells that carry out the same functions. It's at a cognitive level where we change. So I think that because of that, I can understand myself better, and especially when you're looking at it at a sporting aspect, I can understand why my muscles are sore, why I need to get more water, why I need to improve my breathing, why I need to have better lung capacity, why my muscles are weakening because I haven't got enough food when we're looking at transport and respiration and things like that. If there's not enough glucose in my system, what happens? If I haven't got enough oxygen, so forth and so forth. So that's definitely where it is practical, and that's also why it relates relevantly to my life, and also to what I'm looking at doing in later in life with possibly doing physiotherapy in university. I think that's something that's definitely relatable to future career paths and future aspects of my life. What difference has my portfolio made in my learning? At the beginning of the year, I wasn't particularly sold on the idea of doing a portfolio, but I'm really glad I have, because it's made me understand all of these things that I've just talked about. I wouldn't have been brought to my attention if I hadn't been reflecting and talking out aloud like I am now. So even as I'm talking, I'm starting to realize, I'm starting to realize even more and more things that have happened, that I've unconsciously noticed, but not consciously noticed with myself, and thought, oh, this is actually happening, so forth and so forth. So that's definitely where the ePortfolio has made a difference, because it's brought more things to my attention and made me appreciate how much of a difference biology, the IB, and the guiding principles of the school and IB has really made in my life. So that's my third ePortfolio. I hope it's given a bit more insight into my learning this year.